What's going on, guys? Life of Lee podcast, episode 13. And I've made 100% sure this time that the phone is recording. Sorry about the last time, just putting up the audio. It was my fuck up, and I apologise. Also, from looking at the intro video I shot for the last episode when I was explaining how much of an idiot I am, how tanned am I? Like, I was looking dark, like varnished. Anyways, let's get into the episode. So, last couple of episodes. Last couple of episodes have just been like me rambling about general things. So it popped up on Facebook midweek in a memory that it had been a year since my episode of Game of Thrones was on. So that's what I'm going to talk about. My time on Game of Thrones. I worked on most of season 8, and it was just an incredible experience. Like, I'd been living in Northern Ireland for maybe 10 months, just under a year. And I'd worked on some cool projects, like I'd done Frankenstein Chronicles and Line of Duty, even though my role in that was cut. And I'd flown back over here to do Avengers. But obviously, I knew Game of Thrones got filmed in Northern Ireland, and when we lived in there, I thought it might be a possibility, you know. And I'd signed up with the agency that Game of Thrones hires through, and that's who got me the other work. And I'd had a couple of like casting calls, and then nothing came of it. And I was kind of getting worried because you think like, well, this is the last season, you know, this is the last. Because I was a fan of the show, I wasn't like the biggest fan. Like some people got really into Game of Thrones, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, and yeah, so eventually I got the call, a casting call to go in and play one of the Knights of the Vale. And for me, like, this was exactly why I do this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? I want to be in a castle wearing armor and fucking with a sword and a shield and a helmet, you know, like, because it's like I usually just wear sweats or jeans or shit, you know, so it's just a break from normality to be completely um what's the word? It's escaping me. To be completely not invested. You know what I'm talking about? Like immersed, to be completely immersed in the world. And it was the first time for me, although I'd worked on Avengers at this point, I didn't really see much, and it was shot in Edinburgh anyway. And I was literally wearing like my own clothes in it. But for Game of Thrones, it was I'd I'd done the Frankenstein Chronicles, which was set in like the 1700s, but this was the first time, like I hadn't watched Frankenstein Chronicles or Line of Duty, but this was the first time there was a show that I had already previously watched and I knew the world, and then I found myself within that world, and that was like that. It was incredible. I mean, like a lot of people will pay extra money for like the Blu-ray DVD or something, so they get all the behind the scenes extras and the little documentaries how it was made, and I felt like this was me getting a front row golden ticket to go and see the biggest TV show ever made get made and be a part of it. And so again, that was me happy, like the fact that I just knew I was going, that was me. Anything else after that was great. You know, if I managed to see any of like the stars or anything, or if I did actually manage to get screen time, or you know, if I got to take part in any cool scenes or anything like that, that would all just be gravy. Then for me, just the fact that I was going to be there and be a part of it was more than enough of a milestone for me. You know, so. Went, had the costume fitting, blah blah blah, and then it was my first day on set, and I remember like it was so cool. You get there and you go in, you get breakfast. It's all catered, and that food's usually fucking delicious. And then you go into wardrobe. It's usually like it's just so vast. Like it's hard to try and um, relate to you, like how big everything is, like the holding area and the departments, and then the actual sets and all that kind of shit. So you go through costume, and then you go through makeup, and then that's you. You're basically in the holding tent until you're going to set. And sometimes, like especially for the night shoots, you'd have like you've just had like maybe 3 hours sleep, And you get there and you go through costume and you go through makeup, and it's especially when I was playing a white or a zombie walk or whatever the fuck you want to call. Like it was heavy kind of makeup, and I done one night in prosthetics as well. But it was like really heavy dark makeup, and they like literally put mud in your hair and all this powder shit to make you look like fucking dirty and stuff. So sometimes you would go through all that process, and then just depending on what scenes were getting filmed and what they got through and what they didn't, you might not get used, but you wouldn't find out you weren't getting used sometimes until the end of the day. So you've been sitting there for like 12 hours, between 10 and 12, 30, however many hours, doing nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, we came up with ways to amuse yourself, and sometimes you're talking between, like, one night there was only 20 of us, which was a great night. We were just filming stuff for the Battle of Winterfell. It was us, like, we had Dothraki running at us on horseback, and we had to run through him and, like, wave our swords as if we were fighting with him. And then do that like 50 times and reset and run back. And it was in front of massive green screens in the snow, well, fake snow. And it's just things like that, like experiences that are so surreal that they'll just always stick with me. Do you know what I mean? And it's simple little things like you go into the toilet, it was like porter cabin kind of fucking things. And you walk up to the urinal and there's a Dothraki on one side of you and an Unsullied on the other side. And you're just like, cool, 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 cool. And this is what I'm doing today. And like my first day that I was there, I came out of wardrobe and I was in like my Night of the Veil costume, and you've got, like it's metal, it's real kind of stuff, and the swords are like real but aluminium and shit. But you come out and you feel different, like you've got chainmail on and a cloak and armor, and you're walking with your hand and your sword and your shield and shit, and you feel like a different character. So I came out of Holden and I went out the front to get a smoke, and the set was like maybe 300 meters walk away, and I'd walk down a little bit and I was just watching everything that was happening and the to and fro and seeing all the different characters and what they were setting up and stuff. And then someone walked kind of close to me, and they didn't like bump into me, but they were close enough to just say, "Oh, excuse me," just to like, so I didn't turn around and elbow him and such shit. And I went like to turn around and go, "Oh, you're all right." I was standing with a guy called Bugsy, and I'd half turned around. And I saw there was no one there, but there was movement here. And I looked down and I went, "Oh no, you're all right." And they just like kind of turned back and nodded. And it was Peter Dinklage. Tyrion Lannister was just like, this was me. I hadn't even been on set yet. This was me just out of costume. And I was just standing there having a fag thinking, this is fucking awesome. Just being here, just being in costume is good enough for me. And then Peter Dinklage walks past and he just walks on down the set. And me and Bugsy just looked at each other, and we were both like kids, you know what I mean? And he shared, because some people acted so nonchalant about it and they were just like, "Oh, I don't really care," and blah, blah, blah. Some people, they they took on this like A star, no, A class, A list. They took on this kind of A list like attitude, and they thought they were in Game of Thrones. Do you know what I mean? Not working on it as an extra, but they thought they were in the shit, and they walked around with that kind of attitude. But for me, I was like a kid playing dress up, just with a big ass fucking budget. So that was my first day, and what we were filming, it was like an encampment, and it was like Unsullied and Dothraki and Knights of the Vale, and it's from episode 5, which was really cool because the first scene that I filmed was in episode 5, and the last scene I filmed was in episode 5 when I was leading Golden Company. And I think I filmed scenes for every episode of that season, give or take. Maybe not episode 6, or I might have been in it at the start, worked and something. I don't know. So it was, I can't really remember. There was Jon Snow and Davros and someone else, I think, and Tyrion, and two of them came in on a boat, and then they walked up and they were like standing having a conversation, and me and another dude were just like walking behind them, just as dynamic background kind of shit. and that's what I'd done all day, like just action. I would start walking, they would start talking. Sometimes I would reach them, sometimes I would get past them, sometimes I wouldn't get there. It would just depend on how long the shot would run for. And then I would just turn around and walk back up the hill. And that was my first day. And like I was literally walking past like the stars of the show, like just here, you know what I mean? And I just felt like incredible. It's surreal. It's so bizarre to like. I remember when I was first started watching Game of Thrones, thinking, "Oh, this is a good show." You know, it's really like great fucking set design, and obviously being an actor, you do anything you kind of watch, you think, "Oh, would I like to roll in that?" You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, that would have been cool to be a part of," like the battles and all that kind of stuff. And then when you're actually there, it's like and I don't know what it's like to actually star in something as big as that, but hopefully one day I'll find it. So from there on, like I thought, as far as I knew, I thought you get brought on to be someone, and then that was you done. So the Night of the Veil thing. Sorry, I lost my lighter. Um, someone said in the episode 11, I put up and I had my hair tied back, and someone commented on Facebook, "Where's your hair?" So I've got my hair down again. What was I saying? Yeah, so I thought I would just be Knight of the Vale, and that would be me, like one and done kind of thing. So I'd done that for 2 weeks, I think it was, and then that bit of filming ended. I was like, all right, cool, and we'd done a couple of different things. I was like, that was a good experience. You know, I've done Game of Thrones, can't wait to see it, all that kind of shit. And then I get another casting call to play a battlement archer for like the North armies, and it was for the Battle of Winterfell. Like I'd be up on the battlements of the castle, and I'm an archer, so I'm firing bow and arrow at all the people. And that's the thing I'd said on my CV, under skills, archery's listed as one of them, and I am a good archer, right? I'm a really good archer. It's like I've got this kind of instinctive style. I don't aim. I just it's I'll maybe do an episode on it one day because it's cool, and I picked it up from someone else. It's not my own thing, but I kind of refined it a little bit. And I bought a bow fucking like 5 6 years ago, and I spent a summer just going down the woods and practicing and shooting shit and blah blah blah. Nothing live, just cans and shit. And I got pretty good with it, so I thought that would be enough to, at least know how to hold it, and I can look competent in firing it. So I got the casting call, and they said, "Are you Are you actually an archer?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I got on set, and I remember thinking, like, what if I get here and it's like the British fucking Olympic champion archer that's next to me, and then I've got the bow hunting champion, he fucking 87 next, what if it's like perfect, and I'm like, yeah, twang. But no, it turns out everyone was pretty much on the same level as me. So that was when we started doing the night shoots, and it was fucking cold, and we were up. It was at Winterfell, like the actual castle that they built, which is just phenomenal. It was the attention to detail in that place, and the scope of it was insane, man. And there's stuff like one day, I'd seen Arya a few times, like she was shooting something in between the battlements and the, I don't know what you call them, like turret, but a big turret that you can be in between the battlements. Answers in the comments below. And they were filming stuff there, so we'd seen her and Davros quite a bit. Davros is really friendly. And Arya, like the star, they literally can't stop really talking to extras. Do you know what I mean? Especially on Thrones, because there's hundreds of us, and if they walk by and start talking to one extra, then everyone else will be like, "Oh, I can go talk to them." Blah blah blah. So they do kind of ignore us a bit, but like they acknowledge us if they can, kind of thing. It's a strange kind of, but everyone just knows what's happening. We're all there to work and get the shit done. But one, I'd seen her a few times, and then one time, she walked past, like right behind me, and she came up the stairs, and she was in full area like costume, like the leather fucking combat-y kind of looking costume, and her hair was like done and shit. And she was carrying an umbrella, and she was wearing like bright yellow wellies, and she was smoking a fag, and it was like really stormy, and she was just walking like. And as much as it was cool to be part of the show and that kind of shit, seeing that kind of stuff when you have only seen this human being as that character, in that world, in that, and then you see them humanized in a way. You see them in this world, and they're just having a wee fag and wee brawly to get like wellies and that. It really it kind of spoils the visage, if you will. And but it's cool as well to have like you're just standing there, you're watching the battle take place, or we fight, or you're on the bow, and you turn around and there's Arya Stark walking, and you're like, "Hey, Maisie." She just gives you a wee nod and away she goes. So that was cool. I got to see, like at the start of the Battle of Winterfell, there's who's out the front? The guy with the flaming sword, Davros, I think. I can't remember. And what's the big chick's name? I need to rewatch Game of Thrones, man. Shit. Brienne. Like they were fighting like some zombies and shit in front of us. And so I got to watch all that get filmed. And when they lit the ditch on fire, Melisandre, and when Little Worm, Grey Worm, and the rest of the Unsullied were like leading them on, and then they like destroyed the bridge over the trench and lit it. And like I was watching all that stuff happen. So then again, done that for a while. It was pretty cool, but it was a night shoot. It's like it was unbearable at times. And if you watch the interviews with the cast and crew, they'll be like, "Oh, that was some of the worst filming I've ever been a part of. It was horrendous, and oh, I would never do that again. It was oh fuck." But in between, when they shouted cut, like the cast, they had people coming out and wrapping them in goose feather coats and taking them away to trailers and shit, blah blah blah. But because there was so many extras, it wasn't time um, viable to march us all up to Holden and then march us all back down again in between scenes and in between takes. So we all just had to stand out there. And when it was like lunch or whatever, they would just bring us out like in little like takeaway dishes, and they would have crates like who wants chicken, who wants fucking beef, whatever. Can't fault it though. Like out of say I worked 100 days on Thrones, like 99 of those days, the food was fucking awesome. And one day it was just like, ah, that was all right. Like the food was pretty good, and they always took care of us. They would come out and give us like sausage rolls, which were fucking beautiful, and snacks. And if it was hot, they would bring us out lollies and all this kind of shit. And it's little things like that. Like it just makes it manageable and bearable, and it helps to boost morale. Like the ADs on Thrones, and they did 8 years of doing this. But they were incredible. Everyone on Thrones, from costume department, makeup department, probably especially makeup department. There was some great people in the makeup department, and what they were doing every morning with that many people to such a high quality, and the catering, the fucking the ADs, the higher ups, the directors, everybody was just fucking was phenomenal. So I was a battlement archer, then I was a Stark archer. I got brought back again, and then that finished. And then after every time I finished a role, I thought, all right, cool, that's me done. Do you know what I mean? And then something else would pop up, and then I'd done like four different um, whites or zombies or townsfolk that would, it was all just people that were in the the battle, and that's I got to basically fight on both sides of the Battle of Winterfell in a lot of different scenes. Like, I'm in the army that's running up to the castle, and I'm also one of the soldiers that's firing arrows at those people, and then I'm one of the zombies that's in the castle chasing Jon Snow, and I'm also one of like the battlement archers firing in. It's bizarre to actually watch it and be like, well, I know I was standing there, but I was also running through there, and at the same time, I was up there firing arrows. It's a head fuck at times. So we done that. We done the Battle of Winterfell. We finished the night shoots, and it was great as well because stuff kept getting leaked. And when in the Battle of Winterfell, because of the lights we were using, and there was smoke. The castle wasn't exactly getting burnt down, but there was smoke, and the papers were all reporting like the set was getting burnt down and all this kind of shit. And there was little leaks that were coming out, and I'm just reading it like that's not what's happening. And it's just so great to have that little backstage knowledge, you know what I mean? Especially on a show as big and as talked about as this. So Battle of Winterfell finished, and the night shoots finished, and then they were filming the King's Landing stuff. So it was with the North being it was all beards and that kind of stuff. They were now casting for the South, so it was different kind of people, and they were also bringing in Golden Company, which was like the army that had been spoke about up to this point. So I basically just thought, I mean, the company that does this, they've got like 25,000 extras in their books, so there's always going to be available people to do Game of Thrones. And I thought, right, that's probably me done now. Now that the whole focus of the filming's changed into a whole different like set and tone. Um, that's probably I was probably a part of the North. Now they're on the South. I won't be a part of it. So I knew a couple of people and a couple of things had been cast, and I started shooting this kind of stuff. I was like, all right, I'm definitely not getting anything else. And then I got a casting call for Golden Company, and for Golden Company, we had to go in and do some like military training and learn how to march and hold our weapons correctly and that kind of shit. And like I'm ex-military myself, so I already pretty much knew what the fuck I was doing. But it was great to go in, and the fact these were brand new characters that no one had seen, no one had seen the costumes, which were very 80s MC Hammer fucking kind of thing. But they were cool as fuck. The swords were epic. The shields were cool. The helmets, the breastplates, or the chest plates, sorry. Yeah, it was great. And the fact that we were coming in, as an army and we'd done the training together, there was that kind of camaraderie and that kind of shit. And then, so we started filming, and, it's like we're filming the attack from the dragon, and the way they film it, say I think there was like 78, 72 or 78 Golden Company, but when you see it in the show, there's like 5,000 of us or whatever. And they basically have the patch of ground where they're filming, and they film us all here, and then they run the action, and then they move us here and mix us up, film it again, move us here, blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah, and it's called tiling. And then when they do it later, they composite all those shots together, and suddenly there's an army. So we've done all that kind of stuff. I'd got my ex fiance, like she was working on the show at this point. She'd been signed up to the agency for ages and hadn't got anything from him. And then when I was on Thrones, like people were dropping out all the time. A lot of people didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. And I just said to one of the ADs, like, my fiance's dropping me off each morning and picking me up. So, and she's on the books, she wants to do this kind of thing. And that was her. She was in from the next day. So that was great as well, like just having that person, that I'm connected to on set. And then my moment of fucking triumph came up. We were filming just as the Golden Company are going out to get slaughtered by a dragon. Like I've led an army to go and get slaughtered by a dragon. Not many people can say that. And what it was, we were split into two groups, and we were coming out of King's Landing as Jaime Lannister was coming into the city because he was keeping edgy, and we had to march out in two files, meet in the middle, turn, and then walk out the city as like people are running in and out, and there's a lot of craziness going on, and then we march out. So we had the timings pretty good as we were coming out and joining up, and I was back maybe like 6, 7 rows here. And the thing was, as we marched out and came into one column, by the time we got out to the very, very front, where like there was a couple of cameras on this scene, and there was a camera on a crane that was coming in as we were marching out, and I think it was following Jaime. So by the time we'd all marched out into the column and we'd reached the mark, Jaime, the military advisor, he was given the command to halt, but some of us couldn't hear it. So when he was shouting halt, and we had to halt on the mark for the camera, for the shot, whatever it had been set up, we weren't hearing him, or the ones at the front weren't hearing, so it was creating a staggered effect to the halt, which obviously you don't need. So we came back up and we'd done it 3 or 4 times, and Jaime said, like, is there anyone here that's good at marching? I was like, put my hand up, like ex-military, and he's at right. Do you think you could like count it, or like just remember when to halt? I can't remember what he said. I was like, I could do that, mate. If you want, I can give the command to halt from the front. I mean, it wasn't like how they give it in the British Army. Do you know what I mean? But it's it's shouting a set command really loud so everyone can hear you. Like I've took parade for like squadrons and companies and battalions and shit. Like on parade squares, I can do this. He's like, "Are you sure?" Because like time is money in this. Every shot we do, there's a lot of money getting burnt, and I'm like, "Yeah, I got this." And I was shitting myself. Like as soon as I put my hand up, I was like, "Oh, this is putting myself front. Oh, this is changing shit." Do you know what I mean? This isn't just another day at the office. This is you. This is you taking some fucking responsibility here on Game of Thrones, on the biggest fucking show made. So, I can't, like, if you watch the footage, I'll maybe put it up here. My mate Cameron, he was rewatching it and he sent me it, so I've got that on my phone. It's quite poor quality, but you'll see it. I'm trying to keep it stern and keep it fucking controlled, but inside, man, whoa, it wasn't nice. So we're walking out, and we've already done this a couple of times. And as we're walking out, the camera's coming here. There's a camera set up to get us at the mark, but like the directors and all them, like as soon as they yell cut, like 30 makeup artists and wardrobe people come onto set immediately to check everybody to make sure everything's still lined up, and they're dabbing here and checking makeup and that kind of shit. So they're all standing there. You've got the directors, the producers, the fucking ADs. They're standing there. You've got other crews standing there, like the lighting electrics guys that come in to re-sweep the roads so like all the footprints are away. That like there's like 200 people standing here, and we've already done this scene a couple of times, so they know what's about to happen. But it was only me and Jamie that knew that I was given the command this time. So we're walking down and we're marching, hand on the sword, hand on the spear, and I'm walking, trying to look like a soldier, chest up, stern, going out to war. And I'm also trying to keep my eye on the mark that's coming up, not be off put by the fact like some of the biggest names in TV are sitting watching me. Focus on camera, make sure that I'm in time with the lads, in step with the lads, and then I'm marching. I had to make sure that I gave the command on the right foot, and I had to make sure that I had enough breath in my lungs when I needed it to like shout out this command. So all this is going through my mind, and it's Game of Thrones, and it's hot, and it's dusty, and da 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 da. And I see the mark coming up. I'm like, right, left foot's coming up. I'm like, go to company, back, halt, and it was fucking perfect. I was at the front, just pull, on the line, fucking done. But when I went, go, you could see everyone like kind of, because I mean, I screamed this shit. I put the bellows out on this, and you could see like people leaning back, talking to each other, and like, is he? Why are extras throwing out? Why is he taking control here? Is this meant to be happening? Who told him we could do this and all this kind of shit? So they all cut, and then Jamie's came out, he spoke to him, whatever, and then I had like the director coming up and saying, "Oh, that was great there. The shot looks great. We'll just do it one more time and we'll do this, blah, blah, blah. Do you think you could do it again?" Like, yeah, no worries, man. And I was giddy, you know what I mean? I just led an army. And then Jamie came up to me. He's like, right, Lee, that was great. That was fantastic. The guys like what you done. But this time, do you think you could possibly do it a little bit louder? Some of the guys at the back couldn't hear you. I'm like, mate, I didn't want to go like all out in case I scared these people. Do you know what I mean? If you want it louder, I can give you fucking louder. So we went back, done it again, and this time it was like, go on, go, and I fucking raw. But the thing is, obviously, when you're shooting on set, you never know what shot is going to get used. So I wasn't sure. Like as far as I knew, the camera was here, and we marched down. So I thought, and I knew Jamie was coming past my shoulder and that kind of stuff. So it was. I knew, or I thought it could be a usable shot, but you never know what they're going to use and what's going to be in the cutting room floor. So the season started. Fast forward a fucking like a year and a half or some shit. That was basically the last thing I'd done on Thrones, but just what an experience. And then the season started, and I was watching like the trailers for each episode coming up on YouTube, And so far, I was there when the Night King got killed, and Theon Greyjoy got killed. But that's all I knew that had been there. And then the trailer for episode 5 came out, and I was in the trailer for it. And if you watch that trailer, it's a very short trailer and it's a very intense trailer. And then I just flash up for a second. Like, there's 3 other dudes in the screen, but it's such a fucking front and center shot. And then when the actual episode came out, it's like a good 11-second shot of like us coming out and me like in the front leading the army. No one in TV, no one in their house knows I was leading the army, but on the day I was actually in command of that army and I gave the command to halt. Anyway, we've just went over the 30-minute mark, and I pretty much got everything said that I wanted to. If there's anything else, I'll touch on it in another episode. But yeah, that was my time on Game of Thrones. It was a great fucking experience, and I'll say this again: if you've ever thought about, oh, I'd like to get into acting or extras or whatever the fuck, do it, because you might end up working on a show that you absolutely love. You might end up getting to see yourself in TV and being like, holy shit, billions of people around the world right now are watching me on Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? They don't know my name, they don't know who the fuck I am, but it doesn't fucking matter. I know that I'm there and I'm watching this, and it's fucking awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.